The gavel struck like a thunderclap, and Judge Leonard Pike said, "Order in the court." The sound rattled glass pitchers, sending tremors across the oak bench. Riley Hart felt her chest tighten, fear pressing like a vice. Gasps rose from the gallery, and a juror's coffee slipped, dark liquid spreading like ink. Jenna Brooks froze mid-word, pen trembling in her hand. On the witness stand, a middle-aged man shook violently before blurting, "Judge, he's been paid." Silence tore through the chamber, thicker than smoke. Kara Whitfield whispered, "They weren't supposed to know that," her eyes burning with panic. Marcus Hale shot up, objecting with venom, but his voice cracked under the weight of the accusation. Samuel Ortiz gripped his armrest, sweat pooling at his temple. Judge Pike's jaw tightened, his eyes flashing fury before softening into false calm. Riley whispered, "It's all collapsing," her words nearly swallowed by the heavy air. The moment shattered the fragile illusion of justice, and every heartbeat in the room thudded with dread. The courtroom exhaled in uneasy silence, every eye fixed on Judge Pike, whose glare shifted like a blade across the room. Riley Hart felt her heartbeat, thrumming so loud it echoed in her ears. Kara Whitfield whispered, "Stay steady," her words drowned by the air's heavy weight. Marcus Hale adjusted his tie with calculated calm, but his clenched jaw betrayed him. Jenna Brooks scribbled furiously, each stroke tearing into the paper. The jurors exchanged wary glances, Samuel Ortiz avoiding direct eye contact, his brow furrowed deeply. Judge Pike said, "This testimony is irrelevant and will be stricken," his tone deliberate, icy. Riley whispered to herself, "He's hiding it." The air smelled faintly of spilled coffee, bitterness cutting through oak and dust. In that tense moment, the balance of justice felt like a fragile mask ready to shatter. Riley Hart's palms pressed hard against the defense table, cold sweat dampening her skin. Kara Whitfield leaned close, whispering, "We can't show fear now." Across the aisle, Marcus Hale smirked faintly, savoring the storm. Judge Pike shuffled papers deliberately, each sound sharp as a blade. Samuel Ortiz adjusted in his seat, shoulders heavy with unease. Jenna Brooks whispered to another reporter, "This trial just turned into bloodsport." A bailiff moved slowly, eyes shifting toward the witness stand. Riley's mind screamed for escape, yet her lips stayed sealed. The witness lowered his head, shame etching into his face. In that charged stillness, Riley thought, "This is no trial, this is theater of ruin." Judge Pike tapped his gavel once more, softer but cutting, and said, "We will proceed." Riley Hart's breath hitched, her pulse racing. Marcus Hale whispered to his aide, "They won't recover from this," a smirk curling his lips. Kara Whitfield sat upright, eyes cold, scribbling notes with ferocity. Samuel Ortiz glanced down, pretending to take notes, but his hand trembled. Jenna Brooks muttered, "Something's rotting in here," pen scratching fast. The witness stared down at his shoes, as though begging the floorboards to swallow him whole. Riley whispered, "Every move is stacked," feeling the weight of injustice crash upon her. The gavel's echo lingered like a curse, locking the room in dread. The jury shifted, whispers darting like restless birds, their eyes heavy with unease. Judge Pike's gaze scanned them with subtle menace, his lips curled faintly, as if daring anyone to defy him. Riley Hart felt exposed, as though her secrets were laid bare in the gallery's hushed stares. Kara Whitfield said, "We fight harder now," voice clipped and urgent. Marcus Hale leaned back in his chair, smug composure masking unease. Jenna Brooks chewed her lip raw, her pen moving in jagged bursts. Samuel Ortiz rubbed his temple, sweat darkening his collar. The witness hunched further, swallowed in shame. Riley whispered, "It's all a performance, but the ending is already written." The air itself felt rigged, corrupted, thick with betrayal. Riley Hart sat stiff at the defense table, her breath uneven, the echo of the gavel still gnawing at her. Fear coursed through her veins, louder than her own heartbeat. She whispered, "They've already decided," her words nearly swallowed by the silence. Kara Whitfield leaned closer, her voice low, "Not if we fight harder." Across the aisle, Marcus Hale smirked faintly, his pen tapping a cruel rhythm on yellow paper. Judge Pike scanned the room, his cold eyes sweeping over the jury like a predator circling prey. Samuel Ortiz shifted in his seat, his fingers restless against the wooden rail. Reporter Jenna Brooks scratched quick notes, her expression torn between dread and excitement. Riley's chest burned with panic, her pulse thudding against her throat. She thought of everything at stake, her freedom, her name, her child. The walls felt closer with every breath, as though justice itself had turned into a cage. The air thickened as the witness lowered his head, shame etched into his trembling face. Riley Hart gripped the edge of the table, her knuckles white. Kara Whitfield said, "Stay with me, don't let them crush you." Marcus Hale rose slowly, deliberate in every step, his eyes fixed on the jury. He declared, "This outburst is nothing but distraction." Judge Pike nodded, his tone icy, sustained. Riley's jaw clenched, rage flickering beneath fear. Jenna Brooks whispered, "He's controlling every move," her pen digging furiously into her notebook. Samuel Ortiz avoided her gaze, his eyes darting anywhere but the defense. Riley whispered under her breath, "They're blind." The gallery murmured faintly, like a restless storm waiting to break. Every sound in the room carried weight, every breath held a hidden verdict. Riley's pulse hammered as Marcus Hale delivered his venom, words slicing into the silence. She clenched her jaw, thinking, "I won't let him break me." Kara Whitfield scribbled fiercely, her eyes burning. Samuel Ortiz rubbed his temple, muttering softly, "Something feels wrong." Judge Pike watched coldly, his face unreadable. Jenna Brooks leaned to her colleague, whispering, "This isn't justice. This is theater." The witness on the stand shook his head, whispering hoarsely, "It's all true," though his voice was lost in the murmur. Riley whispered, "They'll never hear it," her breath uneven. The jury sat still, but doubt flickered in their eyes, restless and uncertain. Every corner of the courtroom pulsed with unease, shadows heavy as chains. Riley felt the walls pressing closer, her freedom dangling by a thread. Judge Pike leaned forward, his tone deliberate, "Order will be maintained." His words rang like iron bars closing. Riley's chest burned, but she forced herself upright. Kara Whitfield whispered, "They want you broken. Don't let them see it." Marcus Hale's smirk widened as if savoring the unraveling. Samuel Ortiz glanced nervously at his fellow jurors, his unease spreading like infection. Jenna Brooks scratched out lines, muttering, "This will headline by nightfall." The witness stared down, silent and swallowed in shame. Riley whispered, "I will not vanish," though her throat ached with doubt. The gallery exhaled, shifting uneasily, as though the walls themselves trembled. The sound of pens, coughs, and shifting shoes built a chorus of tension. Riley thought, "This is no trial, it's execution by spectacle." The silence broke when Marcus Hale slammed his folder shut, the crack echoing like a gunshot. Riley flinched, her breath stalling. Kara Whitfield placed a firm hand on her arm and whispered, "We're not done." Judge Pike adjusted his glasses slowly, his lips curling into a faint grimace. Samuel Ortiz whispered to himself, "This doesn't feel right," though his voice was lost in the shuffle. Jenna Brooks' pen scraped across paper, her eyes darting between Riley and the judge. The witness turned his gaze briefly toward Riley, guilt etched in his wrinkled face. Riley whispered, "They'll bury me alive," her voice trembling. The gallery leaned in, the hum of murmurs swelling with unease. The weight of corruption pressed down like an invisible chain. Justice felt distant, strangled in silence and fear. The courtroom pulsed with unease as the next witness took the stand, his voice steady at first, but soon cracking. Riley Hart's chest tightened, each word landing like a dagger. Kara Whitfield muttered, "He's lying, Riley, he's twisting the truth." Marcus Hale leaned forward, eyes glinting as he pushed the narrative, his tone sharp, crafted for the jury. Judge Pike nodded subtly, his expression unreadable, but his gavel hand rested ready, a threat in silence. Samuel Ortiz rubbed his palms against his thighs, his discomfort mounting. Jenna Brooks scribbled fast, her notes jagged with urgency. Riley whispered, "The truth is poison in their hands," her voice barely audible. The gallery leaned forward as tension coiled tighter, every contradiction amplifying suspicion. The defense rose quickly, Kara Whitfield cutting through the lies with sharp questions. Her voice carried steel, but every objection Marcus Hale made was sustained. Riley Hart gritted her teeth, whispering, "It's rigged." Judge Pike's gavel tapped once, warning. Samuel Ortiz's eyes darted to his fellow jurors, uncertainty flickering across his brow. Jenna Brooks whispered to the reporter beside her, "Every rule bends his way." The witness stammered, sweat dripping as contradictions tangled his testimony. Kara pressed harder. "So which is it? Were you there or not?" Silence crashed, the man's answer caught in his throat. Riley clung to that moment, hope flickering faintly like a candle in the storm. Marcus Hale regained ground with venom, pacing in front of the jury. "Ladies and gentlemen," he said, "this story is nothing but smoke." His words dripped with authority. Riley Hart whispered, "He's feeding them lies." Kara Whitfield scribbled furiously, jaw clenched. Judge Pike allowed every maneuver, nodding with feigned neutrality. Samuel Ortiz shifted, muttering, "Something isn't right." Jenna Brooks tapped her pen, her eyes locked on Riley's strained face. The gallery murmured in hushed tones, tension like static in the air. Marcus's voice cut deeper, his gestures theatrical, his smirk unshaken. Riley's nails pressed into her palms as she thought, "The truth is being buried alive." Kara Whitfield rose again, defiance burning in her eyes. "Your Honor, the jury deserves the full truth," she said firmly. Judge Pike slammed the gavel, overruled. Riley Hart's stomach twisted, the sound echoing like finality. Marcus Hale smirked, his arms crossed, as if savoring every defeat. Samuel Ortiz glanced downward, shame tugging at his expression. Jenna Brooks whispered, "The game is fixed," her notes frantic. The witness trembled, caught between fear and guilt, his silence louder than words. Riley whispered, "It's hopeless," though her eyes betrayed flickers of defiance. Every heartbeat carried the weight of survival, every glance a blade. The trial was no longer about truth, it was war. The courtroom teetered on the edge of chaos as testimonies collided. Riley Hart felt suffocated, her breath shallow. Kara Whitfield whispered, "Stay with me, don't let them see fear." Marcus Hale's smirk widened, his eyes scanning the jury like prey. Judge Pike leaned back, his silence complicit. Samuel Ortiz rubbed his temple, muttering, "I can't make sense of this." Jenna Brooks scribbled fiercely, ink blotting the page. The witness stared blankly, as though words had abandoned him. Riley whispered, "They want me crushed," her voice cracked with exhaustion. The gallery murmured, like waves crashing against fragile walls. The fight was no longer about law but survival of the soul. The courtroom fell into a hush as Kara Whitfield rose, papers clutched like a weapon. Her voice sliced through the silence. This document was hidden from the defense. Riley Hart's eyes widened, a spark of hope breaking her fear. Marcus Hale sprang up, shouting, "Objection!" But his voice cracked under the weight of the moment. Judge Pike's jaw clenched, his gavel hand twitching, but he did not strike. Samuel Ortiz leaned forward in his juror's seat, his eyes narrowing, sensing a shift. Jenna Brooks gasped, her pen flying to paper, the words almost writing themselves. Kara slammed the papers on the table, her words sharp. The judge received payments connected to this case. The gallery erupted in murmurs, a wave of disbelief and fury crashing through the chamber. Riley whispered, "The mask is slipping." Marcus Hale thundered, "This is a desperate stunt." His hands slammed the table, his face flushed with fury. Kara Whitfield stood her ground, voice steady. "These records prove the judge has been compromised." Riley Hart's chest tightened as the words sank into the jury. Judge Pike said coldly, "This will not be admitted." Samuel Ortiz shook his head slowly, his jaw tightening. Jenna Brooks muttered, "This is history," as her pen raced across the page. The witness on the stand shifted nervously, his eyes darting toward the judge. Riley whispered, "They're seeing it," her voice quivering with fragile relief. The gallery murmurs swelled louder, tension gripping every corner of the chamber. Judge Pike raised his gavel, his voice thunderous silence. The chamber froze, but his fury betrayed him. Kara Whitfield said firmly, "The truth cannot be silenced, Your Honor." Riley Hart's breath hitched, her heart pounding. Marcus Hale hissed to his aide, "Get rid of that evidence." Samuel Ortiz whispered under his breath, "This doesn't add up." Jenna Brooks' eyes burned with fire as she wrote, her whispers frantic, corruption in plain sight. The witness avoided all gazes, shrinking into his seat. Riley whispered, "They're afraid of the truth," her fists trembling. The tension snapped like a live wire, the courtroom hanging on the edge of collapse. Kara Whitfield lifted the papers high, her voice sharp, bank records tied directly to Judge Pike's chambers. Gasps tore from the gallery. Riley Hart's breath caught in her throat, tears threatening but held back. Marcus Hale shouted, "This is slander!" Judge Pike slammed his gavel, his voice shaking. "Enough!" Samuel Ortiz muttered. "He's caught," his eyes narrowing with suspicion. Jenna Brooks whispered to herself, "This will burn every headline in the country." The witness's face paled, sweat dripping down his brow. Riley whispered, "This is it," her voice raw. The room felt electric, truth fighting to pierce the heavy veil of corruption. The courtroom trembled under the weight of revelation. Kara Whitfield's voice rang, "Justice is poisoned when a judge takes money." Riley Hart whispered, "Please let them believe it." Judge Pike's face reddened, his mask cracking, his calm replaced by rage. Marcus Hale barked, "This is irrelevant," but the jury's eyes lingered on the damning records. Samuel Ortiz leaned forward, whispering, "He's guilty," his voice trembling with conviction. Jenna Brooks muttered, "This trial is over," her pen nearly tearing the page. The gallery erupted into loud protests, voices overlapping in disbelief. Riley clutched the edge of the table, her knuckles white, thinking, "Truth is out, it can't be buried again." The courtroom shook with fury as Marcus Hale paced before the jury, his voice sharp. "This trial is not about rumors, it's about facts." His words cracked like whips, commanding attention. Riley Hart sat rigid, her nails biting into her palms, whispering, "They don't hear me." Kara Whitfield rose suddenly, cutting in, "The facts show a system poisoned at its core." Judge Pike's glare cut through her like ice, his hand hovering over the gavel. Samuel Ortiz leaned forward, whispering, "He's losing control." Jenna Brooks' pen scratched furiously, her face pale with realization. The witness looked down, shame weighing heavy on his features. Riley whispered, "This moment decides everything." Kara Whitfield moved to the center, her voice sharp and unyielding. "Ladies and gentlemen, truth is not a rumor. It is written in the bank records you've seen." Riley Hart's eyes glistened, her hope fragile but burning. Marcus Hale slammed his hand on the table, barking, "Objection." Judge Pike snapped, overruled, though his voice cracked with strain. Samuel Ortiz stared hard at the judge, whispering, "He's cornered." Jenna Brooks muttered, "This is the fight of her life," scribbling furiously. The witness covered his face, shame too heavy to hide. Riley whispered, "Let them see him." The gallery stirred, murmurs growing into a storm that the gavel couldn't silence. The air thickened as Marcus Hale launched into his closing, voice sharp. "This case is a performance staged to distract from guilt." Riley Hart trembled, whispering, "He's twisting everything." Kara Whitfield leaned closer, her voice steady, "Hold on, we're not finished." Judge Pike adjusted his glasses, eyes betraying flickers of unease. Samuel Ortiz muttered, "This doesn't fit," his doubt now visible. Jenna Brooks wrote furiously, muttering, "He's fighting to bury the truth." The witness shook his head, whispering something inaudible. Riley whispered, "I won't be erased," gripping the table until her knuckles whitened. The gallery listened, breaths held, as the courtroom burned with tension. Kara Whitfield rose for her final words, her tone fierce. You've seen lies, manipulation, and payments that rot justice. The truth is your duty. Riley Hart's chest ached, her voice breaking. Please hear me. Marcus Hale clenched his jaw, his silence louder than words. Judge Pike leaned forward, eyes cold but shadowed by fear. Samuel Ortiz whispered to another juror, "This is bigger than her case." Jenna Brooks' hand shook as she wrote, her whisper urgent, "This verdict will echo forever." The witness stared down, tears on his cheeks. Riley whispered, "Don't let them bury me," her eyes blazing with fragile defiance. The gavel struck, echoing like thunder. Judge Pike's voice carried forced calm. The jury will now deliberate. Riley Hart's breath faltered, her body trembling. Kara Whitfield whispered, "Hold strong. We gave them truth." Marcus Hale adjusted his tie, masking his unease with a smirk. Samuel Ortiz whispered, "We know what we saw," as the jurors stood. Jenna Brooks muttered, "This is history in the making," her pen falling silent at last. The witness lowered his head, consumed by shame. Riley whispered, "Everything ends now," her words heavy with dread. The gallery rose, the weight of the verdict to come crushing every soul in the chamber. The jury filed back into the courtroom, their faces carved in stone, each step echoing like a drum beat. Riley Hart's breath came shallow, her body trembling as if bracing for an execution. Kara Whitfield whispered, "Whatever happens, we fought the truth into the open." Judge Pike adjusted his glasses, his face pale yet steeled with authority, masking a crack in his facade. Marcus Hale smirked faintly, his confidence feigned but trembling beneath the surface. Samuel Ortiz's eyes met Riley's for a moment, a flicker of sympathy crossing his features before he looked away. Jenna Brooks leaned forward at the press bench, pen hovering above the page, whispering, "This is the verdict that will mark history." The gallery shifted in tense silence, breaths held, eyes locked on the foreperson rising. Riley whispered, "Please let me survive this," her words trembling like a prayer drowned in the weight of corruption. The foreperson's voice cut the silence. "We, the jury, find." The words stretched like eternity. Riley Hart's nails dug into the table, her chest burning with every heartbeat. Kara Whitfield's eyes locked on the jury, defiance glowing despite the tension. Marcus Hale leaned back in his chair, adjusting his tie. The smug smile stretched too tightly. Judge Pike leaned forward, his lips tight, his gavel hand twitching. Samuel Ortiz's gaze darted nervously, his throat bobbing as he swallowed. Jenna Brooks whispered, "It's not just a verdict, it's the judge on trial too," her pen trembling above the page. The foreperson said firmly, "Not guilty." Gasps shattered the silence like glass breaking. Riley whispered, "I'm free," though the weight of corruption still pressed heavy on her soul. Riley Hart's shoulders collapsed with relief, but her eyes stayed wary. Kara Whitfield whispered, "They couldn't silence the truth." Marcus Hale slammed his folder shut, muttering, "This isn't over." Judge Pike's face twisted, his calm mask cracked, fury flashing beneath his eyes. Samuel Ortiz whispered softly, "Justice isn't blind, it just takes courage." Jenna Brooks scribbled in feverish bursts, muttering, "The judge's corruption will headline before nightfall." The witness lowered his head, shame dripping from every line of his face. Riley whispered, "I survived, but justice hasn't." The gallery erupted into cheers, mixed with angry shouts, the clash of disbelief and relief vibrating through the chamber. Kara's hand rested firm on Riley's shoulder, anchoring her in the storm. Judge Pike slammed his gavel, voice trembling, "Order! This court will not descend into chaos." But the crowd ignored him, voices rising, accusing, demanding. Riley Hart stared at him, whispering, "They know the truth now." Kara Whitfield leaned forward, her voice sharp, "Your Honor, your integrity has been questioned before all." Marcus Hale's lips thinned, his silence burning with rage. Samuel Ortiz whispered to another juror, "He can't bury this anymore." Jenna Brooks muttered, "The judge is unraveling before us," her pen scratching in jagged lines. Judge Pike's face flushed red, sweat glistening under harsh light. Riley whispered, "The system cracked tonight." The gallery's noise thundered against the walls, drowning the last fragments of order. The gavel's echoes faded, but the damage was done. Riley Hart stood slowly, trembling yet resolute, whispering, "I'm free, but justice is scarred." Kara Whitfield whispered, "The fight's not over, we exposed him." Judge Pike leaned back heavily, his eyes bloodshot, his power crumbling before the crowd. Marcus Hale's composure cracked, his smirk replaced by a scowl of defeat. Samuel Ortiz whispered to himself, truth finally bled through. Jenna Brooks dropped her pen, muttering, "This is history," her voice shaky. The gallery's shouts blended into a roar, half triumphant, half vengeful. Riley clutched Kara's arm, her eyes locked on the trembling judge. The verdict freed her, but the shadow of corruption still lingered like smoke, refusing to vanish. The courtroom emptied slowly, the echoes of chaos still lingering like smoke. Riley Hart stood frozen, her legs trembling, but her spine unbent. Kara Whitfield whispered, "You survived, but survival isn't the same as justice." Judge Pike lingered on the bench, his eyes bloodshot, his authority unraveling before the press cameras flashing like gunfire. Marcus Hale packed his files with robotic precision, his smirk gone, his hands betraying a tremor. Samuel Ortiz paused in the jury box, staring at Riley as if silently apologizing. Jenna Brooks muttered, "History will not forgive this court," her pen scribbling the last furious strokes. Riley whispered, "They freed me, but the truth still bleeds." The gavel sat abandoned, no longer a symbol of law but of betrayal, heavy in its silence. Outside the courthouse, chaos replaced silence. Reporters swarmed like predators, cameras flashing in bursts of white heat. Riley Hart shielded her face, whispering, "I just want to breathe." Kara Whitfield pushed forward, her voice sharp, no comments now. Marcus Hale slipped out the side entrance, head bowed, his once proud figure shrunken. Judge Pike exited under escort, his face stone but his eyes hollow, chants from the crowd screaming corrupt. Samuel Ortiz lingered at the courthouse steps, hands deep in pockets, avoiding the press. Jenna Brooks stood near the crowd, dictating into her recorder, a trial that exposed the rot at the very top. Riley whispered to herself, "I'm free, but I'll never be the same," her face etched with exhaustion and resolve. The night deepened, rain slicking the streets outside the courthouse. Riley Hart stood beneath an overhang, staring at her reflection in a puddle, whispering, "What did I lose to win?" Kara Whitfield placed a hand on her shoulder. "You lost illusions, but you kept your soul." Judge Pike's limousine sped away, glass dark, the man inside a ghost of power once untouchable. Marcus Hale retreated into shadow, muttering, "The war isn't done." Samuel Ortiz walked past Riley, whispering softly, "I believed you before disappearing into the wet night." Jenna Brooks scribbled under a street lamp, her notebook smudged by raindrops, saying, "The city will remember this storm." Riley whispered, "The truth is louder than their lies," though her voice shook with exhaustion. Hours later, Riley Hart sat alone in her small apartment, city lights flickering through blinds. She whispered, "Freedom feels like exile." The trial's images haunted her, every voice echoing in the silence. Kara Whitfield's words lingered, "You survived because you fought." Judge Pike's furious glare burned in her memory, a reminder of corruption unchecked. Marcus Hale's smirk haunted her, his voice promising more battles. Samuel Ortiz's whisper of belief replayed, a fragile lifeline. Jenna Brooks scribbled notes, stacked like weapons against the guilty. Riley pressed her forehead to the glass, whispering, "The truth saved me, but it scarred me too." The silence felt heavy, filled with ghosts of everything lost and a promise of what was still to come. Dawn broke, gray and heavy, the city waking under clouds. Riley Hart stepped outside, her breath visible in the cold morning air. She whispered, "The verdict freed me, but corruption still breathes." Kara Whitfield joined her briefly, saying, "The fight continues, and you're living proof of it." Judge Pike's resignation hit headlines overnight, his image on every paper, the caption, "Justice bought and broken." Marcus Hale vanished from public view, whispers of disbarment following him. Samuel Ortiz delivered a statement to the press, "The truth deserves better." Jenna Brooks' story spread like wildfire, igniting outrage. Riley walked slowly into the gray streets whispering, "I survived their trial, but my trial will never end." The story closed with silence, lingering like smoke that refuses to fade.